Hello, Conrad, Lucy, and Caleb. I am ready to read more about the Fantastic Four's adventure with Diablo, the master alchemist, and his amazing potions. You'll remember that in the last story, Diablo became a very wealthy man by selling his potions, but they then proved to be fakes. And the worst thing of all was that he gave a potion to the thing that made him all shapely, but then it wore out, and so now the thing is a captive of Diablo. Well, the other three members of the Fantastic Four are off to the rescue, and that's where we start our story. Okay, here they are. The Invisible Girl, Mr. Fantastic, and the Human Torch are off to the rescue. Let's see what goes on. They are at the Baron Hugo's castle, close by Diablo's ancient castle, and here goes the Human Torch. He says, I'll go the easy way, that is flying. There's no telling how Diablo's potion may have affected bashful Benjamin by now. So he's flying through the air. He says, there's Diablo's castle now. It's been remodeled. It looks like a heavily armed fortress from here. So Diablo took that crumbling castle and turned it into a modern fortress. And look, he's hired mercenary soldiers to guard his fortress. The Human Torch's observation proves to be correct, for as soon as he is sighted by the paid mercenaries below, a highly trained missile crew swings into action. Enemy attacker coming in low at 2 o'clock. All batteries fire. And so here come these rocket-powered missiles. They're coming right at the torch. He says, if they explode, the concussion will blow out my flame. I've got to dodge them. And so look as he speeds through the air. He says, I did it, but they're turning back towards me. They must be instrumented to zero in on my body heat. And so here they come, all three of them, and he's racing through the air. Only one thing to do. I've got to head for those peaks yonder and pray that I can reach them before the rockets can reach me. Boom! See what he did? He got to the mountain and he burned all the way through it. And so the rockets exploded harmlessly on the other side of the mountain. That's what the torch is saying. Whew! Just made it. By burning my way through the peak, I shielded myself from the concussion caused by the impact. Well, Diablo sees, and he says, ha, the flaming young fool feels victorious. He doesn't suspect that my main weapons are still awaiting him. Here he comes, steady. He'll fly right into my irresistible stun shower. Look at this machine. What does it do? Well, look who's coming up. But Diablo can't see the Invisible Girl. She thinks, I got here just in time. Now it'll take one careful leap. And so she leaps and she takes down the soldier. And Diablo says, fire. But when he sees his soldier stumble, he says, you clumsy dolt, I'll have your hide for this. Invisible Girl thinks, sorry to see you in trouble with your boss, soldier, but nobody spraying my kid brother if the Invisible Girl can help it. As the hose wriggles free under the pressure of the chemicals which are surging through it, its spray hits Diablo's own artillerymen, inundating them completely. And so now they lay stunned. Diablo realizes the problem. He says, my own men put out of action by my stun shower chemical spray, but it is merely a temporary setback. Diablo is powerful enough to defeat the world alone if need be. And then he says, "What madness is this? Now the nozzle is turning towards me." And of course, we see why. It's the invisible girl. She thinks, with luck, I'll spray him with his own chemical and put him out of action long enough for Reed and Johnny to take over. But Diablo is thinking quickly. He says whatever strange sorcery is responsible, Diablo still has enough unique chemical pellets in his glove to cope with it. See, he's reaching into his glove where he keeps a number of potions. He says, "Too many long years have I waited for this moment. I shall not be stopped now." So he tosses a pellet in the air. He says, "Diablo is the greatest alchemist of all time. There is nothing I cannot accomplish." And so, before the invisible girl can learn how the chemical spray hose operates, this pellet releases a gas. Invisible girl says, "Oh!" And look, the gas completely disintegrates the hose. She thinks he managed to rot the entire hose with just one pellet in order to protect himself. Diablo then says, "I heard a female voice cry out a second ago. It can only mean that there is an invisible female here." Well, yes, there is. It's the invisible girl. Isn't that right, Lucy? Well, look what else the invisible girl can do. She says, "You've learned that too late, Diablo, for I shall now turn you invisible." Do you remember that? One of Sue Storm's fantastic powers is the ability to make another being invisible while she herself regains visibility. And so what does that mean? Well, it means that Diablo's own soldiers can't see him. And so Invisible Girl thinks, just in time, I heard Diablo's reinforcements rushing up. If they can't see him, he can't command them. And so he hollers out, "Stop, you fools, you'll trample me," as they rush ahead. And one of them says, "A voice from nowhere, run, run." And so as they run, they're trampling on Diablo. And then here comes the torch. Well, he can't see Diablo, but he figures he knows where he is. He says, "I'll toss fireballs past the troops to keep them on the run till we can figure out a battle plan." And Diablo says, "No one can see me. I might be trampled, or worse, I've got to flee to safety." And so he runs down these stairs. The torch says, "That's it, boys. Head for cover, and don't show yourselves again unless you want more of the same." And so Diablo thinks, "I'll follow my troops into the castle dungeons. It will give me time to plan a counterattack." All right, and so Invisible Girl is now visible, but she has her invisible force field around her. She says, "Good work, Johnny. I'm over here inside an invisible force screen. I enclosed myself in it to avoid the rushing troops." The torch says, "Huh? Oh, now I can feel the screen. Are you okay, sis?" She says, "Sure, little brother, but we've got to find Reed." Minutes later, the fabulous duo enter the castle dungeons, not knowing what new dangers may be lurking there. The torch flies ahead. He says, "Stay behind me, sis, while I poke around down here." Sue says, "Johnny, what's that over there?" Well, look at that. It's a crack in the ceiling, and look at this blue gobbledygook that's coming down. Well, the torch says, "Something descending through a crack in the ceiling. It looks like..." It is. It must be. We found him. This is Mr. Fantastic slipping through a crack and coming down to join Johnny and Sue. And so here he comes, stretching his way through the crack. He says, "Hi, little partners. I hope I didn't startle you. I've got good news. I've located Ben." The torch says, "Great. Then what are we waiting for?" Reed says, he's in a chamber in the upper section of the dungeon, straight ahead. And the Torch says, this Diablo character really has it made. He's living in a split-level castle. Sue says, if only Diablo didn't have so many strange powers. Reed says, there he is. Notice anything different about him? Sue says, of course. He's changed back to himself again. He's the thing once more. And the Torch says, you know something? I've gotten so used to him by now that the big lunk almost looks handsome to me. But even though he's back to normal, he's sealed inside a glass case. The Torch tries to burn through it, but he says, holy smoke, I can't burn through that glass capsule. Is he still alive? Reed says, he's alive, Johnny, but he might as well not be unless we can free him. And so the Torch decides to intensify his flame. He says, oh, okay, Reed, you and Susie stand back. I'm going to intensify my flame as much as possible. Here goes. And Sue says, Reed, do you think that... Reed says, hold it, honey. Don't talk. Don't disturb Johnny. He has to figure his flame exactly so that it won't touch Ben in case the capsule shatters. But it doesn't look like that's going to happen, because even though he's got his supernova flame aimed at the capsule, it doesn't seem to be affecting it. Johnny says, it's no use. That glass cage is just too strong, and I don't dare make my flame any hotter. It might be the end of Ben. Yeah, I might cook him, huh? At that moment, having become visible again, due to the fact that Sue stopped concentrating on him, Diablo appears. Diablo says, you are wasting your time. It will soon be the end of all of you. It's Diablo. Diablo says, I shall not make the mistake of toying with you until you find a way to escape me. I shall dispose of you immediately, as I have done with your grotesque partner. Look, he's got another pellet. What's it going to do? So Reed grabs for it, but Diablo says, ha, you're too late. My pellet has been thrown. You are finished. The pellet falls and explodes, but look, it's the invisible girl to the rescue again. Reed says, we still have a chance. Sue says, I know, Reed. I'm all set for him here. And Johnny realizes that your invisible force field, great. And so her force field protects them from this pellet, whatever it was intended to do. Johnny says, uh-oh, my flame's going out, but that won't stop us now, as he rushes after Diablo. Reed says, we mustn't give him time to toss another pellet. Let's get him, Johnny. Diablo says, bah, I sneer at your clumsy attack. Oh, Reed says, wait, kid, I just thought of something. Oh, too late. Johnny asks, Reed, what's happening? Diablo says, I was prepared for your attack. My own garments were saturated with my special chemical, so I have disposed of you exactly as I planned. As they clutched him, it released the paralyzing gas, and so Johnny and Reed fall backwards. Sue says, no, you can't. I won't let you. But this time, as Diablo says, fool, in your anxiety, you dropped your force field. Now you too have exposed yourself. And so all three are now paralyzed. And Diablo says, once I've sealed the four of you within my escape-proof cylinders, I shall again be free to follow my master plan. For no power on earth can stop the world's greatest alchemist. He goes on, alchemy, the ancient art of transforming something common into something precious, the art which I alone have mastered. By use of my mystic chemicals, I can do anything. I can change lead into gold, giving me all the wealth I ever need. I can change any substance into any other substance. That is why I was sealed within this castle years ago, because they knew that Diablo was the most dangerous man alive. And you know what? Looking at the Fantastic Four all sealed up in glass cages makes me wonder if he isn't the most powerful, dangerous man alive. Let's see what happens. Well, Diablo admits, unfortunately, the feats that I perform are never permanent, but they last long enough to serve my purpose, and someday I'll find the secret. Ah, the thing is awakening. So look, the thing is waking up. Diablo goes on, once my chemical wears off, you must have air again in order to live, and there's none beside that glass capsule, so farewell to the first of the Fantastic Four. And so now that the thing is no longer in suspended animation, he has to breathe, but there's no air. Look at him clutching against the glass cylinder. No air. What is he going to do? Well, he's super strong, and you know what? Diablo's power can't keep that glass cylinder unbreakable forever. And so Diablo says, press against it all you like. Nothing can shatter that substance which I created by the power of alchemy. Well, I don't think so. Look, he's cracking it. Diablo says, and now I shall leave you, for there is much work to be done. I have a world to conquer. He says, mankind must be made to pay for what they did. What? No, it cannot be. Well, I think it can be. Look at all the glass that's shattering behind him. And sure enough, the thing has broken free of his cage. He says, anyone tell you you talk too much? Diablo says, my unbreakable solution wore off too soon, but I'll still defeat you. The thing says, how come all you big bad fellas want to defeat bashful Benjamin? Maybe I ought to stop using that greasy kid stuff or something. Diablo says, one additional pellet is all it will take. You can't stop me. But without warning, the thing puts all his indestructible power into one earth-shattering stomp as he smashes his powerful foot against the stone floor. And look, it cracks the floor. And the shock waves knock Diablo backwards. Instantly, the impact hurls Diablo back against the wall before he can seize another pellet. And the thing says, face it, chum, your pellet tossing days are over. And now we're going to play Pay the Piper. Diablo says, you lumbering clod, you'll never get me. This stone wall will stop you. And so he throws this lever, and this great stone barrier comes up. Thing says, say, you're a tricky little sweetie, ain't you? Wham! But I forgot to tell you, I got a real bad allergy with some guys, it's strawberries, but me, I'm allergic to stone walls. See what I mean? And so he just pummels that stone wall and cracks it up and gets it out of the way. And so there's nothing standing between the thing and Diablo. Thing says, hey, come on, play fair. You can tell by looking at me that I ain't exactly built for winning races. And so even though the thing can't run fast, he can pick up that big stone block. And so he throws it and blocks the passageway. Thing says, so I'll have to slow you down in my own merry little way. Diablo realizes he blocked the passageway. I can't get by. And so here comes the thing again. He says, now, Buttercup, you've been shooting your mouth off about all your powers. I'm going to give you a little demonstration of my own. Take a real good look at this iron monkey suit I'm holding. Diablo says, it's incredible. That cast iron suit of armor weighs more than a ton. But look at what the thing is doing with it. He says, "You're so right, Melvin. This hunk of tin underwear is beginning to strain my delicate hands, so I'll just squeeze it together like this to make it easier for me to carry. Hey, wait a minute, sonny boy. You ain't seen nothing yet. But look, Diablo is afraid. See his eyes, his expression of dismay. He's running." Thing says, "Tisk tisk, running out on me before I finish talking, huh? It's about time someone taught you some manners." And so Diablo's trying to crawl under that big block. But Thing says, "Here's your first lesson right now. Pay attention, pal. There'll be a quiz after class." And so he tosses this big round metal ball at Diablo. And it starts bouncing back and forth between the walls. Thud, wham, bam, pow. Like a rampaging living cannonball, the rolled up armor ricochets from wall to floor to ceiling and back again with breathtaking force and speed. Dazed, bewildered, confused by the raw power of the Thing's attack, Diablo retreats to the one place where he has known safety and security for many long decades. He says, "I must return to the crypt. Perhaps he will not follow me in there." And Diablo has guessed right. Instead of pursuing him, the victorious Thing raises the huge stone slab which had sealed the evil alchemist for years and plunges it into the open gap, imprisoning Diablo once again. Thing says, "This'll help to keep out the drafts, cornball. Now I'll just haul back and whack it with both my hands. I'll shove it so far in that nobody'll ever be able to free him again, not even a bonehead like me. Here goes." Say, Papa's pretty buff too, don't you think? I don't think so. Wham! Miscalculating the efforts of his own strength, the Thing strikes the slab too hard as the force of impact loosens the castle's aged foundation stones, and then the Thing says, "For the love of Pete, the whole joint is collapsing." And within the crumbling castle, the deep vibrations cause Diablo's imperfect cylinders to shatter as the remaining 3 captives regain consciousness. Sue says, "Thank heaven, we're free again." Reed says, "Sue, Johnny, snap out of it. The walls are caving in." Johnny says, "Huh? What? What? What's going on? What?" "Quick, Sue, your force screen. Blanket us with it," says Reed. Sue says, "What could have caused this? What happened while we were unconscious?" "Aren't you glad that the invisible girl has so many powers? She can protect them from the crumbling castle." Johnny says, "Look, they're ahead of us." And there's the Thing. He's so powerful. He's holding up the stones just long enough for everybody to get free. Thing says, come on, get the lead out. Do you think this is all I got to do?" Reed says, "We might have known you'd fit into this somehow, Ben. As soon as we're past you, drop everything and follow us, big fella." And so he does just that, and as everything crashes down, Thing says, "Yeesh, this is torturing my little shell-like ears." Reed says, "Keep going, all of you, just another few steps." And Johnny says, "We made it. They just barely got out in time." Whew. Thing says, "One thing's for sure, Diablo will never get out of there again." Reed says, "Let's hope so, Ben, for the sake of humanity." Sue asks, "Johnny, why are you flaming on again?" Well, Johnny is melting down all of that stone he says, just to play safe, I'll use my heat to fuse these stones together so the place is really sealed up. And then Reed says, actually, I'm sorry we couldn't have saved Diablo and studied him. There's so much we might have learned, so many secrets that are lost with him. Thing says, and he can keep them as far as I'm concerned. And there they go again, through the forest. Ben says, well, I guess I ought to deliver some king-size apologies to everybody. Reed says, forget it, Ben, you're with us, and that's all that counts. And then Ben says, there's something else that counts even more. Sue says, I think I know what Ben means, Reed. Reed says, and so do I, honey, although it's mighty embarrassing. We're all lost again. Johnny says, boy, oh boy, it could only happen to us. Thing says, phooey, if the Yancey Street Gang ever hear of this, I'm going to leave town. If we ever reach town, that is. All right, well, the editor says, don't waste 1 second worrying about our fabulous foursome friends. Baron Hugo found them a few minutes later and sent them merrily on their way. But you can worry about what happens when they reach home, because they land smack dab in the middle of... But we'll save it for the next issue. We'll see you then. Well, I know y'all like to see what's coming next, so let me give you a preview of the next Fantastic Four adventure. And they're going to come up against one of the greatest villains of all time. Do you know who that is? You're right. It's Doctor Doom. All right, this is going to be a double-length epic. It's called The Final Victory of Doctor Doom. Can that be true? Is Doctor Doom going to finally defeat the Fantastic Four? Well, we'll have to wait until next time to find out. I hope you're enjoying our stories of the Fantastic Four. And as always, there'll be more later. Love y'all very much. Bye-bye now.